Hi, ladies. I hope you had a really great day today. And I just wanted to go live tonight and talk about the flip side of emotional numbness. And on the other side can be a completely different story where you're overly emotional. And before I start that today, I went up to Waco today. I drove up. It took me about an hour and a half to get from Georgetown, Texas up to Waco. And I really got a chance to talk to my friend, my really good friend, Jeanette. She moved here about 2 months before I did. And so they're up in Waco. Her husband at 62 is just really astounding me. He went from being he retired from Boeing, being an airline pilot or airline mechanic. And now he's going to school to be a technician on Tesla cars. And, he's the oldest guy in the class. And, we talked about just how he's having some insecurities, but he's also doing an amazing job. And to go into a completely different industry, to go from airplanes to cars, I'm really proud of him. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but I was with her all day today. But I can't even imagine what that's like, and he doesn't want to retire. He still wants to work. And so, anyway, I just got to hear about his adventures at work, and he's kind of struggling a little bit just with, self-worth, and he is kind of struggling a little bit compared to some of the younger people that are there. And he has had to reach out to them with different technology things or whatever, but he's still going great. I mean, he's been in class now for, I think it's been 8 weeks, and I'm so proud of him to go from that. That's a really big shift to move from Washington to go to Texas, to move your whole life, and then to have an ageism when you go back into working on newer technology and being the oldest person in his class. So, whether I think there's a lesson in all of that, even though we are older, 40 plus, there is a lot of benefits for us. We have a lot of experience being older workers and older people. We just have a lot of experience and groundedness and maturity that the younger folks don't have. And, we can bring in all that expertise if we're allowed to do that. And I think that's, going to be interesting to see what happens if he's going to get a chance to work at the Giga plant. But that was really cool today. And the main takeaway for me is stay in your worthiness, whatever God has called you to do. And they were definitely called. They prayerfully prayed about their relocation to Texas, and specifically Waco, because that's where the class is. But they were really called here to Texas, as I am. And we really need to stay on that worthiness path that God called us. We're here, and just do every single day as it comes, and don't think about the finish line. Just stay engaged. And so that's kind of the big takeaway. And today I spent the day up in Waco, and I went to Magnolia, where Chip and Joanna Gaines, where they have their complex there. And I did follow them in the beginning of their show, and I really thought it was cool. And, I don't watch a lot of TV, but that was one place that I wanted to go check out. And I went with my friend Jeanette, and it really is amazing, the 2 silos there, and just the aesthetics of it, and just the use of metal and industrial and glass and softer textures with the different landscaping. It really has a beautiful aesthetic. But also on the flip side, I was really thinking tonight about other things, in that we went to the bake shop. And the thing for me was, you buy a cupcake and it comes in this packaging. And, we went outside and we ate it, but then there was this packaging. And, I used to be in food service and, there's a cost associated with packaging and it was just going to be thrown away. And so I was really, and as we went around the different stores and different things, looking at where different things were manufactured, because I was curious about that. And I was surprised to see how many of the items were actually made in China or Bangladesh. And, that's something that I kind of look at for different companies that are how they really look at their whole image. And, for me, as far as a business owner, if that was my place, I think that I was disappointed. I was really disappointed to see that there weren't more, made in the USA products and that a lot of stuff had been outsourced. And there seemed to be very brand image conscientious to the experience being there over like the ability to recycle or thinking about trash or anything else. And, I think that for me anyway, I really think about things in a really high level. So it was really cool to go to that place and just see, and it was very family oriented and they had a lot of different food carts that were there. But there also was, wow, what else could they have done to really make it made in Texas or made in the USA, or making choices to bring some of those products to here. And so I'm kind of conflicted. Having seen the TV show and then being at Magnolia today and then just seeing the operation. And I'm kind of conflicted about that because I want it all when it comes to buying products. I want it all when it comes to buying services. I want the full meal deal. And so I was a little lacking after I left. I really enjoyed myself and I love looking at things, but I also was a little underwhelmed by all of the design aesthetics. They were beautiful and it was so muted that there really wasn't much to look at. And I just am like kind of curious with the design element, is that for you to decide, like, are you the person who's in your story, like the main focus is on you where there isn't any focus on any one color palette, like you provide the color to your place? I guess I'm just really kind of thinking about that today. So I don't know if you guys have any comments or you follow Magnolia or would love to chime in on that. So go ahead and drop me some comments on that. And I'm just processing with all of that. But so yeah, so there's that. And then I signed my lease today. So I move in later this week. So I'm excited about that. So things are moving forward, and just updated a lot of my insurance paperwork and everything else. So it's real, ladies. I'm here in Texas. And the next step is to get a Texas driver's license and also get my license plates. So anyway, that's kind of the update here in Texas. And again, this week has all been about emotional awareness. And when you're navigating divorce or separation or healing from narcissistic abuse, there's all these emotions that come up. And there's a lot of different ways that I see ladies navigate. And one way that we talked about a little bit earlier is about emotional numbing, where there really isn't feeling any emotions and you're just really dumped out and kind of flatlined. And on the flip side, there's another whole element where you're just so emotional that every single day is a roller coaster. You can be like 1 minute, feeling a little bit happy. I'm not saying that it's like totally happy, but then the next minute you're angry or you're really sad. And it kind of leads into the whole thing about anxiety or depression and those two kind of extremes, vacillating between those two things. And, I've just, every single person that I've talked to that has navigated this type of healing has gone through those two extremes. And, it's just a roller coaster. Like every single day, you're going through legal paperwork, you're going through custody support, you're going through heartache, like breaking up with with your partner. And then there's new housing situations. And so there's just all this stress that is out there that really kind of maxes out our coping strategies. And, when you're dealing with multiple, there may even be work situations. And so with all of these dynamics, I mean, it's no wonder that you can be so emotionally dysregulated and riding this emotional roller coaster of being sad and being hurt and being angry and being rageful and then getting back to flatline. And then the next little thing happens, that piece of shrapnel, and then you're back up in the air. And then you're not really able to appropriately sit in all of this because so many things are going on that you're swirling around. And, in this situation, when you're so emotionally overwhelmed that you're unable to handle your emotions, so they become kind of handling you, and you're just out of control and overwhelmed, and you're just completely stressed out. And then with all of that stress, there isn't that focus on self-care. And, you just give up and you start neglecting yourself with that. And so many ladies have just like really dumped out in their healing process when it gets to this emotional dysregulation and being so overly emotional during this time period, I remember for myself, going into the grocery store, I was just crying everywhere. And it was embarrassing, but it was where I was at, thinking about things, going to pump gas and, crying my head off. I'm like, I'm just getting gas, but something, I think I might have seen the X, there was a trigger or whatever. So, just during this time period, we don't really have the coping skills to handle all of this stress. And we're not really taking care of our physical needs either. We're not taking care of all of our self-care that we need. And we're like low in motivation. We're not sleeping well. And all of that just makes the perfect storm to be overly emotional. And, that's where we get more in conflict with others and more in conflict with ourselves because we're not really sure what's going to happen and we want some type of control with everything that's going on. And it just, there's other factors that go on too that I've alluded to in other videos is, during this time 40 plus, we've got hormonal shifts that are going on. We're going into perimenopause or menopausal, and we've got another whole layer on top of the stress that we're going through with the divorce or healing from narcissistic abuse or separation. We've got our bodies are kind of short circuiting, and we've got hormonal fluctuations that are going on. And when we're not taking care of ourselves, then that's another whole dynamic. When we're neglecting our self-care needs and we're overly emotional, then also we're not taking care of our needs. So that exacerbates some of the other things like gastrointestinal issues. We can have upset tummy and then we're not feeling really well about it. We've got PTSD triggers, seeing the X or seeing other things that are going on when we're trying to heal. That can also be another layer that's adding to the emotional overwhelm with all of that. And again, if you're doing the roller coaster piece with your emotions, you're vacillating between anxiety and depression. And, again, thinking about your past and thinking about the future and not really getting anywhere with that and being stable. So that's just another whole piece. And again, if we have our menstrual cycle that we're on, that creates another hormonal imbalance along on top of everything else. And so, I just really wanted to talk more about this emotional roller coaster, because it just really can be something that you don't understand and not really sure how to deal with it. And, the other element, that another layer, is that a lot of ladies don't even know that they're highly sensitive. And when I started this whole healing journey, I didn't know that I was highly sensitive either. And that's just a lot of people don't understand being highly sensitive, but it's really 20% of the people have this dynamic of the population. And it really evolves around four things, and it's called DOES. DOES. So if you're highly sensitive, you process things at a very deep level. So you're, wanting to really dig to the core of things. So you're such a deep processor. The other one is that you're overstimulated. It can be by lights or smells or sounds or situations or textures, but you're overstimulated in life. And, that can be when you're super hungry, like you're hangry and you need to get food right away. That's an overstimulation. Overly tired or super loud noises, like that's another element. And then you are more emotional, like you cry at beautiful things just as you cry when you're sad or hurt as well. And then the last thing is that the S is subtleties. You see subtleties and patterns. And so I just wanted to, talk out loud that a lot of women don't understand, why is healing taking so long? Why am I being so overwhelmed? Why am I being on this emotional roller coaster? And part of that might be being a highly sensitive person. And if you're curious about that, drop it in the comments. I'm happy to get in touch with you, because this really made a lot of sense to me as I was navigating and understanding about myself. And so I just wanted to share that with you too. That might be another component. But really, what I want to talk to tonight is stress. The stress of a marriage breaking up or a partnership breaking up, and then the child support and housing situation, that is just so stressful. And when there's so much stress coming at you, there isn't enough hours in the day, especially when you have children and you're working, that you go out the window. Your self-care goes out the window. And that really creates a perfect storm for really highs and really low lows with emotionality, with being overly emotional with all of this. And so I just really wanted to talk about this tonight, because there's two sides to it. There's emotional numbness, where you're not feeling any of your emotions. And being on the flip side, you can be overly emotional for a period of time and not really getting an understanding of your own radar, that it's just going off every single place and you really don't have an understanding of that situation. And in both cases, one of the number one things is self-care. And it's carving out time for self-care, whether that's taking that 10-minute bath at night, after you put down the kids, or when everything's all, copacetic at your house, or maybe it's going to bed early, and making that commitment, I'm going to start going to bed. Maybe your bedtime was at 10 and I'm going to go to bed at 9. I need to take care of my sleep so I can get back into harmony with myself. And, I think in all of these different cases, another whole layer is maybe us women have gone so long without our physical needs being met, or our emotional needs being met, or our spiritual needs being met, or our emotional needs. I mean, mind, body, spirit, and all of that. Like, we have gone for a long time without our needs being met. And when these relationships break up, then it's like there's more needs not being met. And it just really creates this perfect storm for us feeling all of our feels. And so if that's you, I just wanted to say, I hear you and you're not alone. And it's a very trying time with all of that. But the number one thing, if you could just carve out 10 minutes a day for yourself, 15 if you can get it, and 10 minutes in the morning and 10 minutes in the midday for lunch, or 10 minutes, in the evening, just having quiet time for yourself can really do wonders with all of that. And so I just wanted to talk out loud, because a lot of times during this time in life, when you're navigating all this, there's just a unique thing that you're really not sure what you're feeling, or you're feeling too much. And we're all over the map with this. I mean, you can vacillate from being overly shut down to being overly emotional, and you have different phases of that. And I think in healing, it's really understanding your own emotional makeup and how you navigate life and how you take care of yourself. And so that's just all that I wanted to talk about tonight, is just there is the flip side of emotional numbness to being overly emotional. And a lot of that has to do with just being so stressed out and maybe not knowing what's going on in our bodies, and neglecting our own self-care. And so if you have any comments about that, please drop it in the comments. And again, getting back onto a schedule for these talks, going live on Tuesdays, and then Wednesday's a question, and then Thursday's a live, and then Friday night. So we'll get back on track with that, ladies. And yeah, if you have any comments, or this is you, drop those in the comments. I'd love to hear kind of where you're at in this healing cycle. So I enjoyed talking with you tonight. It's nice to see you, Melissa. And I can't wait to get all over Texas to go visit and do a road trip and really see all the different parts of Texas. It's been really cool just to drive north to Waco, having been in Austin, and I haven't even been to the coast or the Panhandle, so that would be really cool. But thank you for joining, ladies, tonight, and I look forward to carrying on the conversation. Again, this week is just all about emotional literacy, emotional awareness, and just some topics that are involved in emotional awareness. So I hope you have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.